Hey, what's up guys, and today I'm gonna be giving you a new series. What if Naruto failed the exam and was put through intense training? Part 1. Yes guys, part 1 of what if Naruto failed the exam and was put through intense training. If you enjoyed seeing 1 see part 2, go ahead and comment down below and tell me you want to see part 2, and I'll be posting it as soon as possible for you guys to enjoy. Link will be down in the description for you guys to enjoy. And remember to stay in tune for the episodes over Anime King 2 and Anime King 3. If you're new and you're just finding out, yes, I have 3 channels. Anime King 2, and Anime King 3. Links will be down in the description for you guys to enjoy. And remember, if you're new and you enjoy the videos, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. His back leaning against a wall of his one-room apartment. The light sound of the water droplet dropping from the faucet reaches his ears as it twitched. His eyes slowly open as he turned his head towards his calendar. Today was a very special day. He had circled it with a bright red marker. After all, it was really important. Today was the day of the Genin exam. He stood up as he winced a bit. The sprained ankle of last night still hurt him a bit. But last night it was broken. But it was an accident. Of course, the construction crew did not saw him walking underneath them. He didn't know whether to feel elated that they actually hadn't seen him, or saddened that they might have lied. He was doing his best to remain as quiet and invisible as possible. So maybe it was his own fault. On the other hand, workers should have been watching out for people down below. He had learned that the bright colors were a no-no. But so were the dark colors in the village, full of shinobis. Going around, painting yourself in all black suit was rather idiotic, but the soft colors, they worked best not to stand out. A soft beige colored jacket, green shirt, and a light pair of brown shorts. The only thing dark was his sandals. Naruto really wasn't the smartest tool in the shed, but he realized quickly that people didn't like him. So instead of shouting out his name, trying to get people to recognize him and notice him, he decided to stay by himself, to stay silent. The number of murmurs and whispers had decreased after that, just like the calls of demons or something like that, because he was hardly seen nowadays. As he stopped pranking and he stopped yelling, and he found that he was left alone. He should have known he was just worsening his own situation by acting like a fool. But thankfully, it was no fix. He didn't eat breakfast, his fridge was half empty, and his stomach was already queasy to begin with. Quietly, he made his way through the dark streets, the back alleys of Konoha, making his way to the academy, as it kept him away from the crowd and the glares. And he really hated the glares. He noticed that the civilians don't look at him like they look at other children. When they look at him, it was always a look of disgust, anger, rage. It was rather early when he arrived, as he walked through the empty corridors, which he used to stay in when he was doing his pranks. But that was no longer the case, as he heard the birds chirping outside. He entered his classroom and made his way for the desk, the last row, but far away from the window, as he sat down and lowered his head, waiting for the bell to ring. Soon he heard clattering of feet as the door opened up, and Sasuke Uchiha walked in. Sasuke looked towards him. He was wearing his usual blue shirt with his dark pants, with the Uchiha fan on the back of the shirt. Sasuke nodded towards him as Naruto nodded back. The relationship between them was rather strange, to say at least. There was a sort of begrudging respect. Only, neither of the two held the actual grudge against each other. The both of them just didn't like to talk to others, and they loved to stay by themselves. Naruto in his case because people would yell at him to stay quiet, and Sasuke because all the girls would just fawn over him in a second. The door then opened again as Hinata Hyuga made her way inside. Her pale eyes scanned over the area as she looked rather shyly before she made her way to her seat. She started to twiddle her fingers together as she glanced towards him. He didn't bother to ask why. He didn't know when the girl had started looking at him, but he couldn't bring himself to ask her. It could ruin everything that he had become. it wouldn't be good to be subjected to the glares of Konoha once again. After he tried so hard to make people forget about him, the noise became unbearable as more children came in. Shikamaru and Nara sat down next to him, with Choji on the other side, munching on some chips. Kiba sat down next to Hinata along with Shino, while Sakura was trying to fight for Sasuke's next seat, along with Ino as well. Troublesome, said Shikamaru, as he glanced towards the sensei decks. Why? Choji asked as he munched on his chips. They will split us up into teams, Shikamaru said. The Inoshiko-cho is one team, for example. Choji nodded at that. And then, there's a dead last place, with the Rookie of the Year, and the second best in the class. And if we take that into account, then it's obvious. We will end up with Ino. Choji frowned slightly. Can't we have Hinata? He asked. That wouldn't work, Shikamaru said. If Hinata was with us in place of Ino, then we wouldn't have any long-range tactics. As he sighed, troublesome. As Naruto listened, in silence. He had been the dead last of the academy for a while, but since that incident, he no longer held the place of dead last. But he was in a slightly lower, average result, and he was comfortable. Being at dead last, people will notice you, saying that you're the dead last in the class. Being the Rookie of the Year, people notice. But being in the middle, down to the end, no one really paid attention to you at all. He had crammed up for the exam, as he expected some taijutsu, some shuriken jutsu. But as the time passed, he became more nervous and nervous, as the sensei hadn't arrived yet. The door then slid open, breaking from his thoughts. Alright everyone, quiet down, Aruka said. When your name is called, make your way to room 1A, and we will administer the test. As the name call proceeded, Naruto started to tremble a bit. What if he wasn't good enough to pass? He had trained hard for this, he wanted to pass. No, he needed to pass. His dingy apartment was starting to break apart, and unless he earned the money to actually repair it, consider his luck, he'd probably end up homeless for a couple of weeks. The name passed and went on quickly until it came to him. Uzumaki Naruto. He stood up rather quickly, his side hitting the corner of the decks. As he winced a bit, he made his way down the hallway, as Aruka clicked his name off the board. Naruto entered 1A to see Mizuki sitting there waiting. On the decks nearby, there was the headbands. Oh, Naruto got the man said a light smile. The third time is a charm, they say. Yeah, said Naruto. His voice was a bit raucous as it came out. How long has it been since he last spoke to someone? He didn't remember. Well, can you do a transformation of the Hokage? Mizuki asked kindly. Naruto nodded and he smiled. He flushed his chakra through his body as he formed a perfect hand sign. Poof! The next moment he was gone, replaced by Hiruzen Sarutobi. Good, said Mizuki. Now, can you do a clone? He asked. Naruto froze slightly as he gulped before he released the hench. As he returned back to normal, he can do this. He practiced. He had repeatedly tried over and over until the point of exhaustion, and he knew that he could. This time, he started to slowly pull at his chakra, far more slowly than he did for transformation. There was no poof of smoke, but two sickly and pale clone of him appeared on the ground, looking like they were dead, twitching a bit. Mizuki's face brightened up as man walked over to Naruto and grabbed one of the headbands. You did it! Naruto smiled without hesitation and took the headband and tied it around his forehead. He was a shinobi now. He was a protector of Konoha, as he felt desire to scream, but he held it there. He wasn't going to scream. He wasn't going to yell how happy he was for this. He just couldn't. As a shinobi of the leaf, you are hereby declared legally an adult, Mizuki said as he signed a scroll on the decks. You also have access to the library of Konoha, but only to the Genin selection area. You're also eligible to receive a standard shinobi equipment from Ninja Office, and you're eligible to open a Konoha shinobi bank from this moment on. As an orphan, you have no guardian, so it falls on you to open a bank account, or simply receive checks for your mission payment. Mizuki handed him a scroll. This is a ninja scroll. It contains your ninja number, the information that you need to activate your bank account, and the shinobi rules. You are to memorize everything. As Naruto nodded, as he turned and left, he would go to Ichiro Ramen to celebrate. As he made his way through the giant doors, he paused as he saw all the pairings congratulating their children. He quickly made his way off into the shadows, not looking at them. There had been no whispers, no glare towards him. Maybe he was safe now because he was a shinobi. That boy passed? A voice reached his ear, and suddenly he knew that he was wrong. Really? What the hell are they thinking? Passing a demon like him? Another voice said. They should have failed him and kept him back. He dashed into the dirty alleyway. As he quickly made his way He didn't stop running until he arrived at his apartment door. He was a shinobi now, he shouldn't be afraid of the murmurs and the glares. But he just couldn't stand them. After all, he wasn't a coward. He was sure that he could fight them off if he wanted to. But why would he? Yelling out loud just got people killed. It didn't really save them. Why couldn't they just look at someone else? What did he have that made him so different? Why did they always call him a demon? The idea of going towards Ichiraka Ramen was discarded. With his broken mood, as he entered his house, as he closed the door behind him, he just started to clean. There was little else that he can do. He had a deck of cards, but after months of, playing by himself, it became hell just to even look at it. He just really hoped that his teammates were decent people. He really hoped they would be his first friends. But he had something to do while he was at home. The rooftop of his apartment complex. He would try to see the shinobis, especially the ones in the black wearing the masks, the Anvus, as they move as fast as possible. He stretched. He would do a bit of light training, then tomorrow, he would do what Mizuki-sensei told him to do. Unknown to young Naruto, he was being watched through a crystal ball by Sarutobi Hiruzen at the office. As Hiruzen felt his heart tighten a bit as he watched the boy, he was looking at him through his crystal ball. One day, something had happened to Naruto. Naruto was always a loud, really loud child pulling pranks. But after what happened, Naruto did not tell him what really happened, but he just changed. He became subdued, silent. He rarely smiled. He rarely yelled or even talked to anyone else. He had used the crystal ball to see how he would fare in the exam, as he was sure that Naruto would run up to him, holding his new headband with pride. He sighed. He wouldn't have let Naruto pass, and if Iruka was there, the Chunin sensei wouldn't have either. Mizuki had probably acted out of the goodness of his heart for a fellow orphan, and he couldn't be judgmental on that act. But if Naruto's unprepared, he would simply be failed by his Jonin instructor, and that would be that. As he looked at the paperwork on his decks, he needed to decide the teams. He couldn't place Naruto with Sasuke, who had passed with top marks. The boy would make his teammates fail. And he couldn't even bother with a nagging from Danzo, Homura, and Koharu if the last Uchiha had to repeat the year. But if he placed Naruto in that team, that would be passing him by force. But he couldn't bring himself to send Naruto outside the ninja world. And the boy couldn't even perform a clone jutsu. He didn't want him to get hurt, he was not ready. He couldn't even put him in the same team as the clan children. It would make the selective clans angry. His only choice was to split up the teams in a different way. Naruto could go with Sakura Haruno, a civilian who had no backing whatsoever. And with the pitiful marks that he had on the physical exam, it was possibly a failing candidate. But he needed a third person on the team, someone who would make a ruckus if they fail. As he started to think, before he could think even more, his office door started to open, and Danzo stepped in. The old teammate of his walked in, with his walking stick, half of his body covered in bandages. Hiruzen, Danzo greeted the hokage by his name. I have heard some interesting news. Oh? Pray tell, Hiruzen said, as Hiruzen stood up as he took a puff of his pipe. Hiruzen would admit it, but he always think that one day Danzo might come into his office and just scream bonsai and attack him with a kunai. He chuckled slightly at the mental image as Danzo walked and stood next to him, both of them looking over the village. The Jinjuliki has passed the examination. A pitiful display, nearly the dead last, and not worthy of being a weapon of Konoha. I know, Hiruzen said. He did better than last time, but I could train him, Danzo said. I could make him better. A better weapon, perhaps, but a better man. Danzo scowled at that. He's a Jinjuliki, Hiruzen. A human sacrifice. He was born to be a weapon. You forget, Danzo, our teacher words, Hiruzen said, and as long as you continue to forget them, I'm afraid I won't hand Naruto over to your personal training facility. Danzo simply shook his head. You need a third shinobi, do you not? Now that you know I know of root, you offer one of your own? Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. I ask you to disband that group, Danzo. It is inhuman. Inhuman, but not ineffective. How about a deal, Hiruzen? I too have a sort of defective product. Hiruzen frowned but said nothing, waiting for Danzo to explain himself. You are building a team that is meant to fail. I know, because I would do the same in your position, Hiruzen. You would, but not out of kind-heartedness, said Hiruzen with a snort. He knew that Danzo would rather keep Konoha weapon inside, to keep him from dying outside, but he wouldn't actually care for the boy. But Hiruzen knew that Naruto wasn't ready for the outside world yet. Does it really matter when it comes to the end, said Danzo. I will place my defective shinobi with yours. Then we will see the result of your academic training compared to my root training. Then we will take into account the lowest possible grades available. And if they pass because of your shinobi, asks Hiruzen, then it means the Jinjulti will have protection by a slightly better than average Genin. Hiruzen remained silent for a very long while as Danzo started to lose his patience, his index finger tapping on the cane. Why not, Hiruzen said that nod. But if something happened to Naruto because of your operation, Danzo, you don't want to see me angry, Hiruzen said, as he blew out some smoke from his mouth. Oh, of course, Hokage-sama, Danzo said. As Danzo left, Hiruzen returned back to his decks. The team was ready now. Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Danzo, operative. Now he needed a sensei and a replacement. The other civilian girl, her name was Ami. She will go on the team with Uchiha. He grabbed Kiba Inuzaka as he placed him in the roster. Sasuke Uchiha, Ami, and Kiba Inuzaka. The Inoshika was already complete, but the problem lay with Shinobi and Hinata Hyuga. He needed one more shinobi to complete the rank right there. His eyes fell down on the students that had shinobi as their parents. A certain Hibachi appeared to have a father in the Konoha ninja department. That was enough. He was doing all of this just to protect Naruto, as he had saw out of his crystal ball. The boy was not even able to perform a basic clone jutsu. Sending him out on the field would just be dangerous. He was doing what was best for everyone. So you have to place Ami and Hibachi on the teams to fill in the spots. With that side, he summoned a clone. The clone can handle the rest of the work. The clone muttered under his breath about damn old coot. As Hiruzen chuckled, time skip, Haruka looked at the team roster. He was quite surprised, as the students were all waiting to hear their names. Team 7 will be consist of Sasuke Uchiha, Ame Satoyu, and Kiba Inuzaka. Your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake. He saw the civilian girl in the back row, pumped her fist in the air, as she simply smirked at the other girl students that lost to get on a team with Sasuke. Two heads banged on the decks, being Sakura and Ino, as they wouldn't be on a team with their precious Sasuke-kun. Kiba snorted as he whined about being on the same team as Sasuke. Team 8 will be composed of Shinobi, Hinata Hyuga, Hibachi, Seto, and your sensei will be Kurna Ui. The Aberami and Hyuga looked at each other as they bowed in a sense of respect. The civilian boy seemed rather affronted. For what reason, Haruka had no idea. He seemed upset. Team 9 is still in effect from last year. Team 10 will be Shikamaru Nara, Ino, Yamanaka, and Choji Akimichi. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. He went on to list the remaining teams until he finally reached the last one. Now Team 13 will consist of Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sai Sato. Your sensei will be Aoba, Yamashiro. All students, please wait for your Jonin sensei to collect you. From this moment on, you're all shinobi of relief, Haruka said. You will live, breathe, and die for the village. You are no longer children, but adults. Remember this, he said. And with that, he left the class, leaving behind all the children. The teachers started to roll in, and as they did, Naruto turned his gaze towards the pink-haired girl. Sakura was one of his early crushes, and one of his early friends. But she too has started to glare and stare at him as well, just like the others. And then she started to follow the others and make fun of him, as she had then became friends with Ino, and then became a rival with her for Sasuke affection, and then he was forgotten afterwards. He looked around the classroom trying to find the person that was named Sai. He couldn't connect that name to a face. Well, he didn't actually know all the names of the students, but Sai, as he wondered who the hello dickless. Naruto paused as he turned his gaze towards a pale-skinned boy with black hair that stood beside him with a fake smile. It looked rather fake to him. The boy was holding a tonto on his back, and he had equipments, and also he had an ink brush and ink in front of him. Hello, said Naruto. The dark-haired boy said nothing more. He just kept on that fake smile. A few seconds later, Sakura came over. Hello, I'm Sakura, she said. I never saw you in the class before. As she looked towards Sai, I was privately trained, ugly. Bam! Her fist connected in his face and sent him sailing towards a wall. How rude, she said, as her eyes burned with rage at him calling her ugly. Naruto simply stayed quiet, sure they were his teammates. But he guessed he was too hopeful, thinking that he would make friends out of them so quickly. So he decided to just keep to himself for now, because it looked like things wasn't working out so good from the beginning. After all, one just called him dickless, and the other one was a fangirl who had broken his childhood trust. He doubted that they could work together as a team no matter what. His eyes looked downwards as he watched Jonin senseis come and get their students. 5 minutes passed as Sasuke walked over beside the wall with him. As Naruto turned his head to see Ami and Kiba cursing at one another, the word like bitch and mongrel were flying. Uzumaki, Sasuke said. He raised the eyebrow not being called, but he answered back. Uchiha? Team 13. Before Sasuke could say anything, the Jonin sensei, Aoba, came in the classroom. Naruto tensed as he looked towards a man wearing a sunglass, and then turned back to Sasuke. See you later, said Naruto. He was surprised and Sasuke actually nodded back to him. He made his way down the stairs, reaching for his teacher as Sai and Sakura joined him. Their sensei seemed young with dark spiky hair. He had on a red framed sunglasses that hide his eyes. Standard Jonin outfit. The man nodded at the three of them before he cracked a smile. Well then, let's get going, shall we? His tone was rather jovial as he walked out of the classroom. I remember, when I was at the academy, he said, I was one of the best students in the class. Would have been rookie of the year, but Hatake was much better. As Naruto looked at the man, he didn't seem that bad. He just wondered what he would learn from him. Now, I'm sorry to say, but I personally don't believe in luck. I mean, we're number 13, but that doesn't mean we have to be unlucky, right? Even though number 13, no team that has that number ever passed the exam before. That doesn't change anything, right? Excuse me, Sensei, Sakura said. What do you mean no team 13 passed their exams? We already did, didn't we? She said. Well, no, said Aoba. You are now shinobis, but you are not full-fledged genins. If you fail, you will get sent back to the academy, and you will have to take the exam another year. What? Sakura screamed. He winced from her loud voice. But then Sasuke-kun would already be, and I wouldn't be able to. No, we have to pass, she said. She tightened her fists, determination burning in her eyes. I concur with Ugly, Sai said, only to receive a fist inside of his face. As Naruto said nothing as he just watched them. But he felt nervous as hell. He wanted to pass. No, he needed to pass. He didn't know if next year he might be lucky and have Mizuki giving him the test. If it was someone else, then maybe they might ask something else and he would know it and he would fail. No, he has to pass. He just couldn't survive another year like this in his own personal hell. He had to pass. He would pass. He needed to pass. Yes, he will pass. And then he will leave. His eyes burned with determination as he looked at the back of his Jonin sensei head. Maybe if he stared hard enough, he will find out what the exam was about. Their walk ended near the Konoha library, where Konoha torture and interrogation department began. But it was hidden in camouflage rocks. Aoba walked right through the rocks as the three of them stood there. He then came back outside, gesturing for them to follow him. As Sakura stepped forward, she was a bit worried. Sai seemed like he was made out of rock or something, as he really didn't show any emotion and that smile on his face looked rather fake. As the group walked along the pristine white hallway, a scream could be heard, making Sakura jump in fear. He was frightened as well, but he froze up instead of jumping like Sakura. Sai, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind any of this at all. Uncle must be at it, your Jonin sensei said. As he took a turn to the right, crying started to be heard, as Sakura distanced herself from their sensei, seeing that he was the closest to where the sound was coming from. As she was walking behind Naruto and Sai, Sai said absolutely nothing. He wasn't even fazed at all. They finally reached the edge of the corridor, as 3 rooms split off. In front of them was a large black door. Now wait here while I prepare the exam. Do not, under any circumstances, follow me inside. There are important and vital documents around, and you don't have the clearance to look at them. The penalty is death. I'm sure that you don't want to end your career this early, right? As Naruto nodded, Sakura seemed queasy, but she nodded as well. Sai didn't even move his head. The next moment, they were alone in the corridor. Do you think it will be hard? Said Sakura. Sai didn't say anything, as Naruto didn't say anything either, hoping that she wouldn't try to talk to him again. I asked a question, you know, she said. You could answer, jerks. We were told to wait here, Ugly. There's no need to speak, said Sai. For the first time, he actually agreed what Sai was saying. They heard footsteps coming from the edge of the corridor, as a purple kunoichi came out in a most revealing shirt and a long fish net. underneath that, coming through. She was wearing a short skirt, and there was a stick in her mouth. She looked at the three of them. What the hell are three students doing here? This is no place for kids, she said. We're waiting for Aoba sensei, said Sakura. We're to take the test to become Genins, Sakura said. The kunoichi smiled. Oh, fresh blood, she said, as she licked her lips. Do you guys want a hint? Really? Said Sakura. As Naruto narrowed his eyes, people smiled at that were never to be trusted, and the smile that the girl was giving was not a good one at all. Oh yes, his tests are all multiple choices. Aoba has no imagination, you see. So the correct answer to all of the questions is always the last one. Now excuse me, but I have an escape person to catch. With those words, the woman rushed off quickly. Sakura sighed, only that. She then turned to look back at the black door. She kept on looking at the door before she took a step forward, as a hand placed firmly on her shoulder. Where are you going, ugly? Said Sai. A tick mark appeared on her forehead as she gritted her teeth. We could take a small peek, she said, as she said in a rather low voice, so that Aoba wouldn't hear them or anyone else. Just to know how long it will take, my mom is expecting me for dinner after all. No, said Sai. We wait here. Treachery to a superior officer is punishable by imprisonment or death. But aren't you curious, Sakura asked. No, Sai said. Not even a little bit. No. A tiny bit? No. As the two kept on discussing, Naruto tuned them out. There was an escape prisoner going around, if what the purple kunoichi said was true. Still, she was a bit too calm for someone looking for an escape convict. Shouldn't she have brought them outside for safety? He turned to look towards the black door. What if the escape convict was in the room? We can call Sensei without looking through the crack vent, said Sakura. That is acceptable, said Sai. Sensei, said Sakura. Are you still there? It took a moment for him to respond. Yes, I am. Don't come in, he said. Will it take longer, she said. Not much. You should take care remembering my words. Now stop wasting my time. Disturb me again and you will feel. Sakura flinched at the cold words, but then she turned her back and made her way back to the intersection. Fine. As she crossed her arms. I'll wait here then. Sai said nothing, as he brought to the white scroll and started to draw on it. Naruto raised the eyebrow at that, as silence stretched between them for a long while. As Naruto glanced over, what are you drawing, he asked. Sai looked a bit surprised to see him finally speak. A scenery, dickless, he said. Naruto ignored the dickless word and moved closer to look. There, drawn in ink, was a Konoha monument with the 4 Hokage faces on it. You like to draw, said Naruto. Yes, said Sai. I enjoy it. But it is distasteful for a shinobi to enjoy such things. Oh, said Naruto. Is he gonna take much longer? Sakura said. As Naruto tensed a bit, he didn't even notice as she came over here to them. I need to go and freshen myself up, she said. We cannot ask him, or he will feel us. I thought you understand that, ugly, said Sai. A nervous tick mark came on her forehead, but it went away as she held onto her stomach with a rather nervous look. I really need to go and freshen up, she said. If we exclude the corner that we came from, that leaves 2 more corners, said Naruto. One might hold the torture cells, and the other one is unknown. I can have them check, dickless, said Sai, as he took his ink and drew small mice on the scroll. A hand sign later on the mice came from the scroll and made their way down the corridor. They were made from pure ink. That's pretty cool, said Sakura. Finally, the mice came back, as Sai told Sakura where the toilet was. She quickly made her way off. When she came back, they had to wait once again. Hours had passed and their sensei was still not here. In the end, the 3 of them stood with their back against the wall, as their eyes started to feel droopy. What time is it? Said Sakura. I don't know, said Naruto. My parents are gonna be worried. As she didn't know, but it was like she was twisting a rusty kunai in his wounds, saying that her parents were gonna be worried that she was late. It made him feel rather bad, after all. He had no one to go home to. You know, they always told me to stay away from you, because you're a bad kid, said Sakura. You don't look so bad though. He snorted, but he said nothing. He's dickless. He can't be bad if he's dickless. So, said Naruto, you're bad then, he asked. Because I'm guessing that you don't refer to yourself as dickless. Well, said Sai. Before they could say anything else, The door cracked open, revealing Aoba. As the three of them turned towards him fully, "You all fail," he said, and with that their dreams were crushed in the most brutalist manner ever. It felt like the world had fell on his shoulders. Sakura's eyes became moist. Sai said nothing. "Why?" Sakura choked out. Aoba raised an eyebrow before gesturing his right hand in a wide arc. "You fail at everything," he said, as he took a deep breath. "You were told that there was an escaped convict, yet you do not feel the need to tell me, did you?" Asked Naruto. "Breathe in slowly," the man was right. "They were told that there was an escaped prisoner, yet they didn't warn their sensei, because they were too afraid of being disqualified. Furthermore, you left your teammate to go into unknown territory, with the possibility of hostile. While you did scout ahead, trying to find the location, you did not take into the fact of hostile presence being in the building. You also failed to remain a status of readiness in case of an attack. Had there really been a hostile shinobi and he found you, he would have taken one of you hostage." Naruto started grinding his teeth as the words of the man ran through his ears. "What happens now?" Sakura asked, as she was on the verge of tears. "Now, I'll send you back to the academy to repeat a year," Aoba said. "Or, you may drop out of the program completely." "No," Sakura said. "I'm not dropping out. I'll do better next time." "Shut up, ugly," said Sai. Sakura brought her hands up as she started crying in her palms. Sai looked at her with an emotionless gaze as Naruto stood there. He didn't feel a need to yell or rant. He just dropped his shoulders and sighed. He felt the failure and the embarrassment, but he did not speak. It's not like it would have changed anything. "Well, there is another way," Aoba said. "You may try Konoha boot camp." Sakura looked up, tears still streaking down her face. It's a highly intensive coursework, designed to make the field shinobis become productive as fast as possible. It basically sends you to the Genin core, and by the time it is over, you will become sensei-less Genins. It's a 3-month course, but it is not pretty at all. There are training casualties every year. "We'll do it," Sakura said, her eyes shining with determination. Naruto turned his gaze towards Aoba fully, as the man looked back at him. "I'll take it too," he said. "Well, if Dickless is taking it, then I'll take it as well," said Sai. "Very well," said Aoba. "Pack lightly and find yourself tomorrow in front of Konoha gates, 7 o'clock. I will sign you in. Now, let's get you out of here." With those words, he started to walk out. He did not joke about the situation or make up some funny term. It was just pure silence. As Naruto walked outside, as the sun had already set, as he felt a heavy weight on his stomach, he failed. He will never be someone special or important if he kept up like this. He will become a sensei-less Genin, one of the many unknown faces in the mass of hundreds. Still, as he clenched his fists, his eyes traveled towards the downcast Sakura and the still emotionless Sai. Would you like to go to eat your ramen?" he said. My parents will be word for me now," said Sakura, as she quietly left without saying a word. Naruto turned towards Sai. "I can't, Dickless," he said, as he walked away, leaving Naruto standing there. Well, he guessed there was no need to go to Ichiraku's. There was no need to wallow in self-pity. He had to prepare for the next morning, whatever boot camp there was. The Jonin had said to pack lightly and consider a few things that he had. Well, it wasn't going to take so much. As Naruto was thinking of what to bring, Aoba was at the office, as Hiruzen was writing something down in a scroll, puffing his pipe with his other hand. "So, why did you feel a need to offer them the boot camp option?" "Hokage-sama, you instructed me to test them as equally as possible," Aoba said. "The boot camp is the most equal of testing options. It is also the longest and the most difficult," said Hiruzen. "This has nothing to do with your history, does it?" Aoba stiffened just a bit. If their desire to become a shinobi of Konoha is that strong, then going back to the academy will be just a waste. Unprepared or not, their rank missions should suffice to bring them up to proper level until they're ready to do something more strenuous. That only matters if they survive. There's a reason why the boot camp option has been long unused. Hiruzen stood up. "You are not doing this because of Naruto, are you? I can change the assigned sensei if that is the case." "Of course not, Hokage-sama," Aoba said. "Jinjulia or not, a shinobi of Konoha is an ally and a comrade. I won't deliberately make things worse for him. But boot camp is boot camp." Hiruzen hummed his approval. "I'll get the others ready. Dismiss," he said. With that, Aoba left in a sunshine. Time skip. The sky was stormy as the three failures found themselves in front of the gate of Konoha, all of them properly chastised. Sakura looked really sad. Sai, like usual, had that emotionless look on his face. As Naruto looked at the two of them, he expected more people to fail, but as time passed by, he realized they were the only ones that didn't pass their exam. Ino came by to flaunt this morning how she passed yesterday, said Sakura. She just had to talk to their sensei, and she passed like that. Sai said nothing, but his eyes had a glint of worry inside of them. Not because of Sakura though, because of the storm that was coming, and the scroll that he was drawing on. Well, said Naruto, that sucks. It was really strange for him to try and console someone because it was like anyone ever tried to console him before. So he didn't really understand the territory here. A flash of lightning as the sky rumbled caused Sakura to jump. And their sensei was still not here yet. As Sai put his scroll back into his backpack, as he checked over his supply. As Naruto did the same, it was wise to double check your equipment. He had ninja wires, a couple kunais, a couple shurikens, and a few pills. He also had dried meat and loaf of hard bread that could probably be used as a weapon, 2 flasks containing water, and the third one containing the basic alcohol for cleansing of germs, thread and needle, and gauze. The rest as shinobis. They were expected to scavenge along the way. A few minutes later, as a tornado of leaf appeared in front of them, as Aoba appeared. Very well, he said. He was spying on them just like before. It seems you are the only failure of your generation. But at least you have some firm basic down. His voice was harsher and rougher. I will be sufficient for your instructor in boot camp. Now, this is your last warning. If you don't want to go, you may say so now, and you will be able to enter the academy new year, like if nothing happened. On the other hand, if you piss me off and had me waste 3 months of my life to train you guys to the bone, I will ensure you that you won't be having a happy time. A loud booming thunder struck as rain started to fall. As silence followed, Sai was the first one to speak up. I am waiting to start camp, 4-Eye Sensei. As the man turned his gaze upon Sai, who just looked back at him. I'm in, said Naruto. Nothing will change after all. Whether he go and was hated by his Jonin sensei, or whether he stay behind and was hated by the populace of Konoha. Hate was hate. At least he will be out of Konoha for 3 months. Out of the hell. Sakura looked at her two teammates before she could say anything, as Naruto saw them as well. As Asuma, along with Choji, Shikamaru, and Ino, was coming to the gate to deliver something. I'm in too, Sensei, said Sakura. Can we go? She blurted out, as she wanted to get out of here fast as possible now. Very well, we can. Oi! Forehead girl, said Ino. Like if you were caught doing something bad, Naruto saw Sakura froze up, as she stared at the incoming wide-eyed girl, going off to get her ass kicked. Suck on pig, said Sakura, getting back her fighting spirit. I'm gonna make Sasuke fall for me. You just wait and see. As if he will fall for a failure like you. At least, I'm gonna get stronger than you, Ino pig. Forehead girl, Ino pig. Haruno! Silence, Aoba said, as the words of her sensei Sakura went quiet. This is unbecoming of a kunoichi shinobi to yell out in the streets. Now, let us go, he said, as he started to walk out of Konoha. The first drop of rain turned into the downpour, showering on them. They rushed behind their Jonin as Naruto brought up his backpack to cover his head. Boot camp is not far from the village, Aoba said, as he kept on walking, unfazed by the ground turning muddy. It seems like hours, as they finally stopped in the forest. As they came up on the red gate, the kanji for boot camp written on it. 2 statues of lions at the side of the gate. I'll be up ahead, be quick. This era is usually riddled with bandits, because we're in the middle of the forest. And with that, Aoba was gone. Sakura looked around. But bandits? She was drenched from head to toe or hair, sticking to her face because it was so wet. Yes, ugly. Bandits, said Sai. She was too wet and cold to even think about eating him. As Naruto shivered a bit, as a cold breeze washed over him, he was already soaked to the bone. They were going to get a horrible cold or worse if they stayed in the downpour for much longer. Another flash of light, and thunder went off, blinding them for a moment. Naruto took a step forward. We have to go, he said. As they walked along the path, their sandals started to go deeper into the gravel. Damn it, this is hell, Sakura whined. Do we have to stay on this path? No, ugly. You could climb the trees, said Sai. As he went to the lowest tree and climbed up, using his hand to pull himself up. With real ease. How did you do that, said Sakura. Practice, said Sai. You can climb trees, right? Of course I can, said Sakura. It's one of the things they teach at the academy. As she started climbing up to the first tree, taking steady movements, before arrived on the lowest branch. She then hopped to the other tree, but she put too much momentum as she started to fall, missing the tree by an inch. Sai leaped off his branch, as his legs wrapped around the footing of a tree, before grabbing her hand, so she wouldn't fall from such a high height. He then released her. At least she wouldn't die this way. As Naruto moved forward and caught her, but her elbow hit him right in the stomach, and he ended up falling over with her. Sai flipped off the tree and landed. Trees are out for ugly and dickless, he said. Naruto groaned. That hurt, he said. I'm sorry, Sakura said. Did I crack one of your ribs or something, she asked. No, I'm fine, he said. A few minutes later, Sakura grumbled. I can't take this anymore, she said. What is wrong with this? Walking in the rain, Ino bitch. Just had to talk to her sensei, and we get saddled with boot camp. This is total. She was cut off as another bright light illuminated the area, but this time it was a bit closer than they thought, as a lightning bolt slammed into the tree. The sound of the tree falling forced them to open their eyes, as Naruto saw the tree in front of them. Fire inside. He looked over as he heard Sakura groaning. She was pushed back and she fell down to the ground on the hard gravel. This is bad, Dikla, said Sai. We need to find shelter. Yeah, said Naruto as he turned towards Sakura. Can you walk, he asked. I think I sprained my ankle, she said, as she tried, but failed to stand back up. As Naruto helped her up as he placed her arm over his shoulder. My feet hurt, she said. It's better if you put your sandals back on. We're probably gonna have to take a detour, said Naruto. And if there are any snakes around. Sakura winks as she heard those words, as she followed him though, as he was her support right now. They made their way around the burning tree and some thick gravel. Their walk lasted for a few minutes until Sakura started to murmur again. How far off is the camp to begin with? We've been walking for ages, she said. It can't be that far. Sensei wouldn't have left us if it took that long to reach camp. Maybe you can lead me here, said Sakura, as she looked over towards the trunk. And you can run off ahead and you remember what Sensei said, Naruto, about bandits. We already failed once because of something similar. I learned my lesson. I had nothing to think about back in my house. The what ifs and what they had done wrong had plagued him in his apartment when he was alone last night. Things that he would have changed if he had the chance to. Well, it was like he could go back in time. So there was no point thinking about it so much. But he learned from his mistakes and he won't make them again. Furthermore, it's not like Sakura weighs so much, and he had stamina to burn. You know, Dickless, if bandits attack us, we would be dead, said Sai. My Inki is not that effective, and my Kinjutsu is still of an amateur level. Well, I'm nearly dead last. I don't know how much of a fight I can put up against a bandit to begin with, said Naruto. Sakura tensed a bit on his shoulder. That made him turn his gaze forward. There was a crevice in the ground. Underneath, a large river was flowing. The bridge to travel to the other side was broken. The only way to go over was probably descending by the walls and passing on to the other side and climbing up. Under this thunderstorm, something like that was really suicidal. What do we do now? Naruto asked, his gaze wide in disbelief for the horrible situation he had landed on. We could wait for Sensei to come and look for us, said Sakura. There might be another bridge, Sai pointed out. The gravel path, it split. As he pointed towards where the gravel lead off, deep into the forest. Let's go then, said Naruto as he readjusted Sakura's weight. As he continued to walk, Sai was ahead of him, keeping an eye on the path. As the downpour was lighting up, he was elated for that, but he was still soaked for the bone though. But he didn't know how much longer he could keep in the frozen rain. Stop, said Sai, as Naruto narrowed his eyes, before he moved as fast as he could while holding on to Sakura. His breathing settled down as the rain was calming down. He heard crunching of boots on the gravel. His heart started to beat faster as a feeling of dread settled over him. Two bandits, one of them holding a katana over his shoulder, was coming towards him as they were talking. Just like with any summer storm, the rain ended completely, and they could hear the bandit's voice. Man, we're gonna be paid big time now. Akano had Jonin knocked out and ready to be delivered. We're gonna be rich. The other one Simply sip on a bottle with some liquid inside. What if they send someone to free him? The man asks. They won't get here in time. The boss got him packed and ready to go. He will be gone in 2 hours tops. As Naruto felt Sakura's hand clench onto his jacket, she was terrified. He was terrified as well. Sai remained emotionless, but there was a frown on his face. Jonins were supposed to be high-level ninjas, and for one of them to be captured alive, it must mean that their Jonin instructor was really unlucky, or the bandit boss was not someone to travel with. The two bandits walked by, disappearing from view down the road. What do we do? Sakura whispered. What the hell do we do? She said. We go back, said Sai. We warned the Hokage. He will send a team to rescue the Jonin. Our sensei is gonna be taken away in 2 hours, said Sakura. We know nothing, ugly. We go in blind, deaf, and without a plan, and we die. Dickless, you understand me, right? Naruto thinks he didn't want to die. But on the other hand, being a shinobi meant that you were ready to die for your country. But this wasn't a situation meant for Genins. This was a situation meant for Jonins, envoys. They shouldn't be the one trying to save their Jonin from something like this. We can't leave him here, Sakura hissed. It's just not right. Ugly, said Sai. You are wounded. The bandits are more than us. We have no way of saving our sensei. We should retreat. What about just freeing him, said Sakura. He was probably caught by luck alone. If we free him, he can get us out of here. And if he can't, ugly, we will die. As Naruto closed his eyes, hoping against all odds for a solution, they work in pairs. He commented suddenly. Sai, you know the transformation jutsu, right? Sai raised an eyebrow, confused. But he nodded. The two guys had passed by. Can you copy the guy with the katana? Naruto asked. I'll transform into the other one, and we'll bring Sakura in as a prisoner to get to the cells. We get to the cells and see the situation there. You can use those mice of yours, seeing that the rain has stopped falling, to scout ahead. And if we can't save him, Dickless, asked Sai, then we... Naruto gulped. We find a way to delay them and get out of there. We could die, said Sai. We might have to kill. Are you fine with that? Dickless asked. We're shinobi, said Naruto. It's what we have to do, he said. As every word that he said felt like it was sticking through his throat. What about you, ugly, said Sai, as he turned his gaze towards Sakura. Still think that you're ready? She puked. As she started to stagger, Naruto had to hold on to her tight so she wouldn't fall into it. As her mind seemed to be reeling from the situation that she was currently being taken under right now. We could leave her here, or we could send her back to Konoha. No, said Sakura as she wiped her face. I'm fine. We can do this. Come on, let's go, she said. Meanwhile, in a bandit camp that was barely being held together with sticks and mud, Aoba was bound by ropes and feigning unconsciousness. Seems they came to rescue her, started ass. The voice of one of the patrolling bandits rushed into the room. Really, of all the mecha to test Genins, the boot camp one? This is damn horrible, man. Keep your role, Aoba said. Do you understand me? Yeah, the man said. The two of them made their way as he stood guard. The both of them saw the small ink mouse make its way. Avoiding the puddles, it made its way towards the two guards, who were trying their best not to snicker. In their eyes, their attempt was poor, but still they were tunings. Being a part of this act was better than sitting at the gate, waiting for people to arrive. As the both of them really wanted to see how the kids would do, even though this next 3 months was going to be a literal hell for them. They have no idea what boot camp actually is. This is just the first part, and this was a bit hard, but the rest of it, well, they might come out of this as powerful shinobis, so that might be good for them, but it was gonna be hell. But guys, to be in subscribe right here for what's next part to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications they posted. And if you enjoy seeing 1C Part 2, go ahead and comment down below and tell me you want to see Part 2. And I'll be posting that as soon as possible for you guys. And also remember to stay in tune for Anime King 3 and Anime King 2. I'm going to be posting a new episode over there for you guys to enjoy as well, guys. So yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.